My name is Tabitha Cooper, and this is my testimony. My entire life, I've known God, and it's always been a blind, childlike faith. My maternal grandparents were Irish Catholic immigrants, and my paternal grandpa was, at different points, both an Assembly of God preacher and a Pentecostal holiness preacher. So I've always been led by really faithful people. I was baptized into the Catholic faith as an infant and went to church every week growing up. Even in college, there was a Catholic church across the street from my dorm, so God made it really easy for me to get there for a while. I definitely feel like I'm a product of Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way that he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. But in John 16:33, Jesus tells us, I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace, but in the world you will have tribulation. But take heart, I have overcome the world. He's basically assuring us that life is going to be hard, and man, has it ever been hard. Rick Warren once said the key to our hope is understanding God's purpose for our lives, even in the pain. So I always try to find God's purpose for everything. My grandparents, all four, have been dead for the majority of my life. But when you have faith in God and you know that they had faith in God and you know that they're in heaven, it really encourages you to live your life for Christ. Because aside from being in the presence of the Lord, next on the list of people you want to spend eternity with is definitely your grandparents. I went on my first date the day after my 16th birthday, and I met my husband in my early 30s because I was blessed with parents who were happily married for almost 50 years. They're still married today. I've always had really high standards and just really expected a lot out of a man. I saw the way that my dad is to my mom, and so boy after boy and man after man, I would put my trust in someone and be met with disappointments in the form of lies and cheating, mental abuse, and physical abuse. I was taken advantage of in some form or fashion by every single one of them until I met Ricky. I've always said that God sent him to me. He was the purpose in all of the hurt and pain that I endured while I was searching for what Song of Solomon calls him whom my soul loves. Chapter 3, verse 4 says, Scarcely had I passed them when I found him whom my soul loves. I held him and I would not let him go. After over 15 years of enduring some of the most tragic types of suffering, I'm definitely never letting him go. On December 18th of 2003, I became a survivor of rape, after which my OBGYN told me I would never be able to have a child. When I became a police dispatcher, the first time someone called to report their rape, I found purpose in my own. I was often the first person that someone would tell this to, and so of course I would help and make sure that they were safe, but I also got to just really sincerely say things to them like, I believe you. I could honestly tell them, no one should ever touch you without your consent. And I could genuinely say, you have nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed of. This was not your fault, and there's nothing that you could have done to deserve this. Those are things that took years for people to say to me, and I sometimes was able to say it to them within minutes of their attack. It took years for me to truly believe some of those things myself, and it's my hope that they were listening and that their mental healing may coincide with their physical healing, because mine did not. but I will live through it again if it meant that I was able to show Jesus to those people when they needed it most. Also, God knew more than my OBGYN. I have 5 healthy, beautiful children, and I only had to give birth to 2 of them. They are by far my greatest gift to this world and the part of my legacy that I just gushed over. My oldest daughter was saved in 2019, and then my oldest son in 2020. And when my middle daughter was saved in 2021, I thought, I want to be saved. I want to be baptized. I didn't get a say in my own because I was an infant. I wanted to be saved, and I just wanted to tell the world that I was a Christ follower. I spoke with Pastor Keith, and I was saved. And since then, my husband and also both of my younger children have been saved, and I was able to be present and share in those salvation experiences. It is the most comforting thing to know that the 6 people that I love most in this world have invited Jesus into their hearts and that their sins are covered by his blood. I would tell new Christians to look for God in all things. It's really easy to see him when life is going good, but sometimes when life is hard, it can be kind of difficult to find him. That's when faith is really important. Last year, Ricky was offered his dream job, and I encouraged and supported him to move nearly 1,000 miles away to start working while I hung back with our kids to sell our house. And for 4 months, I asked God every single day to bless and bring us a buyer for our home. January 3rd, 2024, I found out why that prayer was not answered. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Later in January, I had half of my thyroid removed and sent to pathology. And February 3rd, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. 1 Peter 4:19 says, "Therefore let those who suffer according to God's will entrust their souls to a faithful Creator while doing good." So that's what I'm doing. I was diagnosed with 2 unrelated cancers simultaneously, and I am just praying and reading scripture and fiercely clinging to time with my favorite people and just knowing that it will all work out. In fact, right before this appointment to record this video this morning, I was told that I have already beaten thyroid cancer, so it's behind me. My favorite verse is Romans 8:28, and we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good for those who are called according to his purpose. I don't know the purpose of this one yet, and I may never know, but God does. And that's always been enough for me. If you would like to know more about how you can also have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, watch the video that our pastor made called The Gift.